What is going on, guys? Let's talk about this topic of conversation today, shall we? Is it time to reinvent or repackage your service or product offering? There's a lot of folks out there that are selling products and services that aren't as fulfilling as they wish. And I'm going to talk about this in a second. So we get into business and we start selling our products and services and things are going great. And then all of a sudden things start to tank. Things start to decline and we start to scratch our head. Why is this happening? All of this stuff used to sell like crazy. Why isn't it flying off the shelves anymore? Why doesn't anybody want this? Well, let's talk about this. Let's figure out why. Well, first and foremost, times are changing so drastically, so quickly. If we're not constantly reinventing our products and services, we're going to get left behind. That's inevitable. That's a fact. Okay. If I was still selling one-off design work, I would be commoditized and I would have got sucked into the Fiverr or Upwork world and I'd be making peanuts every day, working my ass off. I had to think, how am I going to reinvent myself? How am I going to stay relevant? How am I going to be able to charge more for my product or service so I have more runway? So there's a few things that impact not reinventing or not repackaging your products or services. The first thing is you might start to attract the wrong clientele. And that sucks because it's a lose-lose situation. You're not excited about doing the work or providing the service. So that's going to reflect in your skill set. It's going to reflect in the quality of work. And the client isn't going to get what they really want. Okay. It has a direct impact on sales because if your current product or services aren't selling, you're screwed. Your margins are going to shrink. Your revenue is going to shrink. Your runway is going to shrink. Okay. And there was one thing that I want to share with you before we get into solving this problem is the concept of not being able to afford not to work. Okay. I heard this on in a Netflix show, and it just brought me back to the earlier days when I was in my business working my ass off, and I was spending every dollar that came in. And the problem with that was I couldn't afford not to work. I constantly had to get that next job. I constantly had to hound clients to pay me because I had to pay my bills, right? There was absolutely no runway whatsoever. And it sucked because I felt trapped behind this desk. I felt like if I wasn't working, how the hell am I going to pay my car bill? How the hell am I going to pay my mortgage? How the hell am I going to pay my electric bill? So I had to start thinking, well, how do I create more runway for myself? How could I start selling a higher ticket package or a higher ticket service to give me more runway so I don't have to work with as many clients? So that's sort of how I started to invent the Brand Accelerator program, because I figured if this is a done for you, comprehensive, all-in-one program, and I could sell it for a premium price, well, then again, I don't need to work with as many clients. I have runway and I don't have to sweat. And now I could afford not to work some days, which gives me time freedom, gives me money freedom. So how did I do that, right? So there's a few things I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to share with you a story that one of my clients was going through and is going through, and how we're solving this problem for them. So what you want to do is really put the right message in front of the right people, because if you're selling a product that just isn't bringing in the right clientele. I'll give you a quick example. I was selling a low-end coaching, monthly coaching program, and it just wasn't bringing in the clientele that I wanted. And I was busting my ass trying to market this thing. And I was like, why am I wasting my time here? What if I focused all my attention on the Brand Accelerator program and just forgot everything else? Because those are the clients you really like to work with, Henry, right? Yes. All right. So why waste your time peddling a $400 coaching program when you could be focusing in on selling a much more valuable product? So I said, okay, let's focus our energy in there. Now, what do people want? What are people willing and able to buy? So you got to give the people what they want. You could scream from the mountaintops, you need this, you need that. And you'll fall on deaf ears because they don't care. They just want what they want. You know, I'm guilty of this. When I get fixated on a car, if I get fixated on something that I really want, there's nothing my wife can tell me that's going to stop me from wanting that. So you got to give them what they want. So look at your current program, look at your current service offering or your product offering and say, is this what my ideal clients want right now? A lot of shit's changed since January 2020. You know, we're in July right now, and it feels like a completely different world we live in, and it's just 6 months. What's going to happen when all this PPP money goes away and companies and businesses start laying people off in droves? Let's prepare. Your product or service may be able to help some of these people. I know a lot of people are going to get severances and they're not going to know what to do with them. They may stash them away. They may want to invest in themselves and start their own business or consulting program. Who knows? I got to be ready to handle those wants when the time comes, if the time comes, when the time comes. So always thinking ahead, but giving the people what they want. Very, very important there, right? And then I want you to ask yourself this question. I was talking to one of my coaching clients yesterday about this. He's flying high. He's bringing in 4 or 5 clients a week. He's hitting revenue goals that he never thought he could imagine. And I asked him, sounds like everything's running on 12 cylinders. Is there anything we can do to improve this program? And we started to think, and then I started to ask him, well, what does your testimonial workflow look like? What does your social proof workflow look like? What does that mean? I said, when you get a new client in, are you asking them for a case study or a testimony or a Google review? Could you put something in place after 30 days or after 15 days or after you deliver the service? Something automated goes out to them that asks them for a testimony or a review, right? That's a product or service enhancement that could help him bring in more business. He says, no, I don't have anything in place. We haven't been really focusing in on getting client testimony or case study or social proof. I said, why not? Because I know you're riding high right now, but we all know what goes up must come down, and eventually things will slow down. Well, if you build up your case study and testimony now, you could leverage all of that when things get slow to help market the program later on. So how do you level up the value of your product offering or service offering? Is it the best it could be? Probably not. There's always room for improvement. I'm constantly looking at my Brand Accelerator program going, how do I make the customer experience better? How do I make it more streamlined for my team? How can my team get better insight so that when they go to design the brand identity, they have everything that they need? What's my exit strategy look like when a client graduates the program? Can I improve that? Is the maintenance program as good as it could get? Right? Constantly looking at rooms for improvement here. I'll give you here's the story that I wanted to share with you before I wrap this up. So I had a brand accelerator program client come to me and say, listen, we're peddling this $300 educational online education program, and we're getting low quality clients coming in the door. You know, we're looking to work with clients that are ready and willing and able to invest a minimum of $15,000 to help scale and grow their business. Right? But we're getting these clients that can't afford us from a long shot and can barely afford the $300 program or $400 program. Forget. We're trying to push. So they're attracting clients that can't afford them, and they're busting their ass trying to promote that program. So I said, well, what if we repackaged it? Instead of an online course where, you know, they pay $400 and they get a login and they have to do the whole thing on their own. What if we created that program, but it's more facilitated by you? Instead of this handoff, do it yourself type of program. I said, if it involves you, then you could jack up the price, because the value that you bring to the table is much different than somebody going through an online course, right? There's a lot of time involved. There's a lot of one-on-one. There's the value. So what we did was, we took this online education course and frameworked it all out where now they become the facilitators of that program. And it's broken down into, I think we have it down to a 5-week course, a 5-week program. And minimum level of engagement is $15,000 for that. So we leveled up the value of their service offering. Now they're going to attract a completely different client. So that's what I'm emphasizing in today's topic, is taking a look at your service and product offering and asking yourself, how do I level up its value? Because people will buy your product or service based on the value that it delivers. How big of a problem is it going to solve? When you solve big problems, there's big value behind what you do, right? If I was still designing business cards for people, that isn't really going to move the needle for their business, right? It's not going to move the needle for their business. But now I'm giving them lead generation strategy. I'm giving them brand strategy. I'm giving them business strategy to help them grow and scale online. How much is that worth? Right? We're going to take this brand accelerator client from $250,000 to $500,000 in the next 6 months. I can see it already. We're positioning ourselves properly. Everything's lining up. Now, I can't guarantee that, but we're going to be in a way better situation than we are right now, because everything's going to be repurposed and repackaged and repositioned to identify with a completely different level of client. That's what we're talking about here. Okay? So I want you to start to think, how can I create more value inside of my product, my service, so that I can raise the price, which is going to give me a longer runway to play with. You know, I was telling one of my clients right now, we onboarded a client on Monday, and I have room literally for 3 more clients, and it's only July for the year. And then I'm done. Once those 3 clients come in, say we get those clients in August or September, that's it. I'm shutting down. Because that work will get me through to the end of the year, and we'll start reorganizing for 2021. That scenario is so much different than the scenario, say, 5-6 years ago, where I would have to constantly bring in new work to keep the lights on. And I don't want you to go through that. I don't. I remember what that feels like. It feels like you're constantly treading water. It feels like you're constantly trying to keep your head above the water so you could actually breathe. And the work is not fulfilling. And you feel like you're ball and chained to your business. That's a shitty feeling. So I want to help you guys start to build some of that runway up. If I can help you level up the value of your product or service and brand, then you can work with less people, make more money, and have more time, have more freedom, have more of a fulfilling business, right? We don't create our business to make ourselves an employee of it. Do we? No, we create the business for the freedom. I'm going to leave you with that. I dropped a lot today, so I want this to kind of sink in and digest, and give yourself some time to think this through. But the bottom line here is, how could I reinvent my product or service to increase its value so that I could sell it for a higher price and get that runway back into my life? If this was helpful, guys, let me know. I would love to hear the biggest takeaway from this and how you're going to apply it. And if there's any help that I could be to help you do this or help you facilitate this, I'm more than happy to have a consult with you to see if we're the right fit. Okay, so have an amazing day, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one real soon. Take care.